The day has finally arrived. No, not the day for the actual draft. Today's the day for our first round mock draft with trades. Let's make some deals. Welcome back to JetsHQ. I'm Howie. It's good to see you back. Today is a big day in a lot of ways. We're going to be doing our mock draft today with trades, so it's going to get some pretty heavy stuff that we're going to go over. Also, today's the day the Jets open their off-season workout for voluntary workouts with the team. So the Jets are reporting to camp, and we're moving on with the season. So I can't wait to see who shows up, who doesn't, and what we can glean from all of that information. It's going to be interesting. We'll be commenting on it. I'm sure we'll do some kind of videos on the Jets camp. It's going to be great. So I'm looking forward to that. But today's the day for the draft, so I know everybody wants to see how trades are going to break out. So we're going to work it out for you today and see how these things turn out. The most important thing for this draft is that it all hinges on the first pick. The first pick normally is just a done deal. Everybody knows who the first pick is going to be. Sometimes teams even have a deal worked out for the first pick. In this case, it's not going to be that way. Everything's kind of hinging on the Cardinals and which way they're going to go. So what we're going to do today is I'm actually going to give you two draft scenarios. We're going to follow one line where the Cardinals make the pick. And we're going to follow another line where the Cardinals trade or don't pick Kyler Murray. So everything can change on that pick. So I figured we'd follow both lines and see where they went. So that's how we're going to do it. It's going to be kind of two mocks in one. And we'll show you how it breaks out, and at the end we'll show you how either one of them can turn. So let's just get started. All right, so the Cardinals are on the board, and in the first half of this mock, we're going to say that somehow the Cardinals decided that they were playing games with us, and in this case, they're going to actually go ahead and choose Nick Bosa, defensive end from Ohio State. Well, everybody goes crazy, and now teams are scrambling because the 49ers have actually make out like bandits in this scenario. And if in the other half, they actually take Kyler Murray. So you can see in round one, we have the Cardinals taking Nick Bosa or Kyler Murray. So that's where the draft is going to fork, right at the top. Moving on to the second pick, the 49ers are now on the board. So in the first half of our forked mock draft, they have a decision to make. And that decision is where all these teams are calling them to make a deal to get up to number 2. It is probably the best chance for a big trade on draft day in this particular case. So if the Cardinals don't take Kyler Murray and the Niners end up on the board with him still there, this is where you're going to see your biggest deals. In this case, I think what happens is that the Giants realize that they know that the Miami Dolphins are in a way better position than they are to tank for Tua, to go ahead and get the number 1 pick next year. So the Giants, even if they skip picking the number 1 quarterback this year, they're not going to be in position to get the number 1 quarterback next year either. So in this particular case, they have to make a deal. They blink, and they throw a bunch of picks at the 49ers to move up to number 2. So in this particular case, what they're going to do is they're going to trade their number 1, which is the number 6 overall, and they're going to trade the number 17 pick that they also have in order to move up to number 2. But that won't be enough. They're going to have to throw in their number 1 pick in 2020. So that's right. They're going to trade 3 number 1 picks to move up from 6 to 2 to get Kyler Murray in this scenario. So Dave Gettleman throws away his future and ends up with Kyler Murray, the playmaker of this draft, and pairs him with Saquon Barkley in New York. Now, in the other half of our split, the Niners are on the board, and Nick Bosa is still there. However, they don't need him. As we said in another one of our videos, the Niners aren't planning on taking Bosa no matter what. So in this particular case, if they can't make a deal and Murray has gone number 1, I don't think anybody's going to be able to throw enough at the Niners in order for them to trade out. And they're going to end up taking Quinnen Williams, defensive tackle from Alabama. So, as you can see, they end up with Quinnen Williams on the other half of our mock. And now we've moved to number 3, the Jets, which is why you've all tuned in. So, the Jets now are on the board, and in one half of the draft, a big deal has been made right in front of them. The Giants moved up, got Kyler Murray. But Also for the Jets, it has put them in a plum position where Mike McCagnon has won the lottery and Nick Bosa falls right into his lap. So in that half of the draft, the Jets would want the same bounty that the Niners had wanted in the second pick. So it's probably unlikely that they're going to trade out, and they'll end up with Nick Bosa, the defensive end from Ohio State. Now, if they were to trade, the possibilities would probably be with the Redskins at 15 and the Broncos at 10. Now, while the Redskins would have to throw a lot more at the Jets to get up that extra 5 slots, both of these deals are probably unlikely in trading down in this case because Dwayne Haskins, I don't think, has piqued these teams' interests. However, if they do, if either one of them does want to jump up and get Dwayne Haskins, then they're going to have to swap with the Jets. They're going to obviously have to swap ones. They're going to have to give their 2 for this year, and they're going to have to give their 1 from next year. Now, this would be a great deal for the Jets because, remember, neither of these teams is going to have a great season with a rookie quarterback. So that means that their next year's first-round pick is going to be very valuable, probably in the top 10. So, looking at it that way, the Jets will end up with another first-round pick next year, almost guaranteed to be in the top 10, wherever the Jets end up, which hopefully won't be in the top 10. We're not going to mock that here because I don't think that's what's going to happen, but since you wanted to know what trades it would take, that's what it would take to get the Jets out of the number 3 pick. So in the other half of our mock, Kyler Murray is gone and Nick Bosa is gone, and the Jets end up with Josh Allen, the defensive end, outside linebacker from Kentucky, and a great pass rusher. So the Jets will be happy there. They won't be as happy as they are in the other scenario, but they'll still be very happy, and they're going to come out of it with a great pick. It's even less likely that they end up with a trade in that scenario because the 2 big names are off the board, and nobody's going to trade up to get to this position to get Quinnen Williams or Dwayne Haskins at the number 3 spot. So that's where the Jets will fall on either side of this branch that we have developed here. So now we move on to the number 4 pick. Number 4 pick is with the Raiders, and the Raiders are happy either way because there's some blue chip stock there for them, and John Gruden looks around, he tries to make a trade, probably not enough to get him out of there, although the Raiders would be likely to take less for this pick than, say, the Jets, who were at the number 3 slot, because the value of these draft picks is coming down. So it is possible that Gruden would trade out, swap ones for maybe a 2, maybe a 2 and a 3. But in this case, I don't think anybody's offering that. So in the first half of our mock, the Raiders end up with Quinnen Williams, the defensive tackle from Alabama, falling into their lap there, and they'll be very happy putting him there right in the middle of their line. The other half, they do end up getting the pass rusher that they've been coveting, which is Josh Allen. And Josh Allen, the outside linebacker from Kentucky, ends up with them in the other half of this draft. So that's the scenario there for them. So at number 5, we have the Buccaneers. Now, the Buccaneers pick here is actually quite simple. The Buccaneers have really been focusing on one player the whole time. They haven't been like the other teams that are ahead of them, have been deciding whether or not to slide up, slide down, and have to fill one need over the best player available or anything like that. The Buccaneers are looking to replace Vontaze Burfict, their linebacker. And here, the best linebacker that's left on the board is Devin White, the linebacker from LSU. And they're going to just run up with that card and pick him and be very happy. So the Bucs end up with Devin White in both scenarios of this draft. Okay, so now we're at number 6, the Giants slot. Now, this is another spot where a lot of action is going to happen. Okay, in the first half of our draft, if you recall, the 49ers made that big deal with the Giants. So now the 49ers are actually on the board. Believe it or not, the 49ers may not be happy in this slot and may want to trade out again. Since Dwayne Haskins is at this spot and the prices come down for the draft pick, this is probably a very likely place where the Niners might even try to trade down again, collect even more picks. So in this case, I think that those particular chances to be trading would be with Denver at number 10 and Washington at number 15 again. Remember, Miami at number 13 is not looking to pick up a quarterback in this draft. They are out of it. They're tanking for Tua, so they're not looking to throw any picks away. They're looking to gather picks. So depending on who blinks first, either Denver or Washington, the Niners in this first half of the draft, we're going to show them trading out again. What do they want for it? Well, they're going to try to hold out for another first-round pick, probably next year's pick. I don't think they're going to get it. I think in order to swap picks from 6 to 10 or 6 to 15, they're going to end up getting a bunch of other picks. They're going to swap those first-round picks, and I say that either Denver or Washington will probably ship them a 2 and a 3 this year. Now, Washington is more likely to give up their number 1 pick next year since they have to move so many slots. That's 9 slots up. It's just a big move. So in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and say that the Washington Redskins are going to swap with the 49ers from 15 to 6, and they're going to give up their 2 and their 3 this year and their 1 next year to do it. So the Niners have now made 2 deals in which they've picked up a ton of draft choices, and they're now sitting at number 15. So the Redskins are on the clock, and they pick Dwayne Haskins, Ohio State quarterback, and they've got their quarterback replacing Alex Smith, their quarterback of the future, that they can now develop, and they can even sit for a year while they end up doing terribly and develop him and try to come out of this with a franchise quarterback. Now, in the other half of the draft that we're doing, the Giants are still on the board. So the Giants have actually gotten lucky here too, because Dwayne Haskins is still on the board in this other half of the scenario, and they don't have to trade. They know, like I said, next year they're not going to get the number 1 quarterback due to the Dolphins tanking so hard for him. So they're going to end up taking Dwayne Haskins, the Ohio State quarterback, as well. So in number 6, Dwayne Haskins goes either way. Just depends on which team actually picks him. All right, so that brings us to number 7. Now, number 7 is the Jacksonville Jaguars, and a lot of people have been discussing whether or not T.J. Hawkinson will go here, or maybe DK Metcalf, or some kind of a surprise where the Jaguars are going to, make a big splash and try to get another fancy piece for their offense. And I disagree with all this. I really think that last year was a model that they had a stacked team. The Jaguars had a beautiful team with Fournette. They really had a very good team. Of course, Bortles is terrible, but they don't need that with all of those pieces that they had, and they still couldn't do anything. And that's because their offensive line was so horrible. So in this particular case, I think the offensive lineman is sitting right there in Florida, staring them in the face, just as I said in another draft video that we did. And it's going to be Jawan Taylor, the offensive tackle from Florida. And it's going to be in either scenario. Both scenarios, Jawan Taylor ends up with the Jaguars at number 7. Okay, so we go up to number 8. Now the Lions are on the board. All right, so we've got Matt Patricia is sitting there in the war room. We know he's Mr. Defense, came from the Patriots, so he's going to go defense. He's been drooling over this hometown guy for months now. They've had them in. They had a private workout day. They had him in for dinner. He's their guy. It's very obvious that this is going to be the pick for the Lions. They're not going to get swayed. They're not going to take the T.J. Hawkinsons of the world. They're going to go with this big piece that they're going to fit right into their defense. And they're going to take Rashawn Gary, the defensive tackle out of Michigan. He's going to stay at home in Detroit, and he's going to do great things for the Lions. It's a good pick. He's a solid player. He's going to turn into a Pro Bowl player, maybe even more. But he's just some guy that can just plug in and play for the next 10 years for the Lions, making Matt Patricia very happy. All right, so then we go up to number 9. We're at the Bills. Now by the way, I'm sorry, that was going to be in both scenarios. So Rashawn Gary's going to go to the Lions no matter which way this draft skews. All right, so number 9, the Bills are on the board, and this is another place where a lot of guys have been mocking a big offensive piece like T.J. Hawkinson. As you can see, he's moving up in most draft boards, so it's hard to place where he's going to go. The Bills might go with a DK Metcalf or an N'Keal Harry to add to Josh Allen to let him have somebody to throw downfield to, somebody who might actually be able to outrun those 90-yard bombs that this kid can throw. But in this particular case, I think that there's a very, very solid value on the board, and I think the Bills are going to look for that next, super stud defensive guy, and I think they're going to go with Ed Oliver, former prospect for the number 1 pick overall. Ed Oliver, the defensive tackle out of Houston, and they're going to stick him in there, and he's going to be Mr. Buffalo for the foreseeable future. I think that'll be in both scenarios. I don't think that's going to waver. I think the Bills end up with Ed Oliver. All right, so now we're at number 10. John Elway in Denver have made it onto the board, and I think that this actually works out really well for them. Now, honestly, I don't think that John Elway is the greatest of executives, but I think in this particular case, this draft might make him look like a genius. I don't know. It's hard to look like a genius when you traded for Joe Flacco. But in this particular case, I think both scenarios very easy. He's going to add to his man crush and select Drew Lock. Both, no matter how it breaks out, he's going to end up with Drew Lock, the quarterback from Missouri. He's going to be very, very happy. He's going to let him sit behind Flacco for a year or 2 or 3 games until Flacco ends up broken in pieces on the field and sticks Lock in the game. But in this case, Lock is going to be a Bronco, and I think that he actually is going to develop into a really good quarterback. Kid looks good. I think that he may not be the perfect prototype, but he's pro ready. He's polished. He looks pretty good. So we're going to get a chance to see what he looks like in a Denver uniform. All right, then we go on to number 11. All right, so far even though the draft jumped around depending on how we broke off from the first pick, we've kind of fell back into a rhythm where either way the teams are going to be picking the same player. So I don't think that changes. I think that for the Bengals, I think that they need a middle linebacker. They need an inside linebacker to quarterback their defense, and I think that the great value here is Devin Bush, linebacker from Michigan, and I think that he fits in very well with the new management over in Cincinnati, and I think that he's a prime piece to help them develop their defensive scheme and fits in very well. So that'll look good in both scenarios. We end up with Devin Bush, inside linebacker, Michigan. All right, then we go on to number 12, and it's the Packers' turn. Now, the Packers are in a good spot. See, they have 2 picks also in the first round. So with one of their picks, they can actually splurge and fill a very, very important area of need, while with the other pick, they can do best player available. So I think that the number 12 pick will be the one where they fill the area of need. And in this particular case, no matter which scenario breaks out, this is where T.J. Hawkinson, the tight end from Missouri, ends up. He goes over there and he's going to play with Aaron Rodgers, and they're going to make beautiful music out there on the field. I think that's the perfect spot for him. He may not be Gronkowski, but he is going to be very good. He's a big, huge body, great at catching. He's great at blocking. He's pro-ready, and he's going to look great out there in Green Bay. All right, so that's going to be in both scenarios at number 12. Then we move on to number 13. Number 13, the Dolphins are on the board, and the Dolphins want nothing to do with improving their offense. They don't want to do anything that might rock the boat and cause them to lose the number 1 pick next year. So I think in this particular case, they're going to go very quiet. I think they're going to go with a solid piece. I think what they're going to do is they're going to pick Jonah Williams, the offensive tackle at Alabama, and just prepare to protect Tua Tagovailoa in the following season. I think that that's a good start for them. They need some help on the line. They don't want a flashy player. They don't want somebody who might actually score a touchdown, God forbid. I think that they're going to follow through with their horrendous plan. They're going to sell 3 season tickets this year, and they're going to have Jonah Williams out there playing in an empty stadium in Miami in preparation to protect the number 1 quarterback in the 2020 draft. So in both scenarios, the Dolphins end up with Jonah Williams, offensive tackle from Alabama. All right, so now we're on to number 14 and the Falcons. Now the Falcons are actually the beneficiary of some good luck here too. Some good talent has fallen to them here in the draft. In both cases, I think that that they're very happy with this. Now they can go with a DK Metcalf kind of player here and let the passes fly and just try to open up their offense even more than it already is. But I think that the value here is at defensive end. I think the edge rusher that's available is just too good to pass up. I think they're going to end up with Montez Sweat, the defensive end from Mississippi State, and that'll be in both scenarios also. And I think they'll be very, very happy plugging him in and getting him after the quarterback starting next year. So, lastly, we're up to number 15. Now, in the number 15 in our scenario, we have 2 different teams on the board. In the first scenario, we have the 49ers on the board, who have traded down twice to get to this spot. And in the other scenario, we still have the Redskins on the board, who failed to trade up in that half of our mock. So we'll take a look and see what the 49ers are going to do. I think that the 49ers have collected a ton of picks, and at this spot, they're going to go with best available player, who is not a defensive lineman, because they are stacked at defensive line. So they're very happy that all the teams in front of them have just fawned all over the defensive ends and outside linebacker rushers they don't need. And the best player available at cornerback is still on the board, and they end up with Greedy Williams, the cornerback out of LSU. Now, they've got a lot more picks in this draft because of all their trading, but they end up with an area that they really need to shore up their cornerback. I really think that they need to help Richard Sherman on the other side, and this is just a great pick for them. So, and you just never know, Greedy Williams might develop into a shutdown corner. So it would really help them a lot, and they've done themselves a great service in this mock doing all these trades. Now, on the other half, we still have the Redskins on the board. So the Redskins are also looking at players that have fallen through the cracks through this draft, and I think that they still would like to get an edge rusher. So in this particular scenario, none of the quarterbacks at this point are appealing to them. I don't think Daniel Jones is somebody that they're going to want to take at number 15. I think that they might hope he's still there in the second round. But in the first round, I think the value is at Brian Burns. Brian Burns is the outside linebacker from Florida State, and he's going to be a fantastic edge rusher also. And I think they're going to be very happy picking him there, and that he fell to them at number 15. So anyway, that's the first 15 picks in the first round. I really think that's where all the trading or all the action is going to be. I think that's what you guys wanted to hear. I really don't think that the Jets are going to end up with a trade at number 3, but if they do, they have to make sure that they end up with either an extra number 1. If they're trading way down, they really want to get 1 or 2 more number 1s. Remember, they gave up 3 number 2s just to move up from 6 to 3 last year. So they're going to want at least that value to move anywhere down beyond the number 6. So I think that they might end up with a 2 and a 3 and maybe a 1 for moving down to either Denver or Washington, which is the most likely places for them to trade. However, I really don't think they're going to end up with a trade, and I think we're going to be very happy with either Bosa or Allen, whoever we get at number 3. And I'm looking forward to seeing either one of them play in our brand new uniforms. It's going to be fantastic. So anyway, I want to thank you guys for joining me. I really appreciate it. If you liked the video, please make sure you give us a like. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel because I'm going to be dropping a lot more content here. Remember, the Jets camp just opened, so I can't wait to start talking all about it. Check me out on some of the other platforms, Facebook and Twitter, even Twitch, which we're starting to ramp up a little bit. Remember, I'm going to be doing live streaming for the first round of the draft, so we can see how our mocks turned out. I'm going to be there with you for the whole first round, so I hope you join me. It's going to be a great time. I'm really looking forward to it. I really appreciate you guys being here. Looking forward to seeing some comments. Please drop a comment. Let me know if you like this. If you disagree with me, let me know that too. I would like to hear everything from everybody. So I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for joining me, and let's go Jets.